Hi, and welcome to English-Fabule. Are you learning English? Great. Let's learn English with a very interesting story. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. Let's get started.
This book tells the story of Switzerland. Switzerland is a country in Europe. It is famous for being neutral. This means it does not join wars between other countries. Switzerland has been neutral for a very long time. For over 200 years, it has not fought in wars. This is very unusual for a country in Europe. Because Switzerland is neutral, it often has a special role in the world. It can help countries that are fighting each other. It offers a safe place for people to meet and talk about problems. For example, the city of Geneva in Switzerland is well known for hosting many international meetings. People go there to discuss peace and other important things. This shows how neutrality helps Switzerland be useful to the world. The idea of being neutral is very important for Switzerland. It is part of the country's identity. It has helped Switzerland stay independent and avoid the big wars that have hurt many other countries in Europe. It is a way for Switzerland to live peacefully with its neighbors. But neutrality was not always like this. A long time ago, Swiss soldiers were famous fighters. They fought in wars for other countries. So how did Switzerland change from sending soldiers to fighting to choosing not to fight at all? When did this change happen and why? Also, what does being neutral really mean today? Does it mean Switzerland does nothing when there is trouble in the world? Or can a neutral country still try to help people and follow international laws? Can it stop trade with a country that starts a war, for example? These are important questions about what neutrality means in our time. In the following chapters, we will explore these questions. We will learn about the history of Swiss neutrality. We will see the important events that made Switzerland choose this path. We will look at the rules that Switzerland must follow to stay neutral. And we will think about the challenges neutrality faces today and in the future. Understanding Swiss neutrality helps us understand this unique country and its place in the world. 2. Old times and neutrality. Long ago, before Switzerland was neutral, Swiss soldiers were famous fighters. They often went to other countries to fight in their wars. These soldiers were very strong and brave, and kings and countries liked to hire them. This was how things were for a long time. Swiss soldiers fought in battles in different parts of Europe. But one very important battle happened in the year 1515. It was the Battle of Marignano. This battle was against the French army. It was a very big and hard fight. Many Swiss soldiers died in this battle. It was a terrible defeat for the Swiss. After the Battle of Marignano, people in Switzerland started to think differently about war. They saw the high price of fighting for others. So in the year 1516, Switzerland made a special agreement with France. This agreement was called the Treaty of Fribourg. In this treaty, France and Switzerland agreed to have peace forever between them. They also promised not to fight against each other or help their enemies. This treaty was a big step. After 1516, Switzerland slowly started to stop sending its soldiers to fight in wars for other countries. It began a new way, trying to stay out of other countries' fights. This was the start of a policy to be neutral or not take sides in wars. Europe had many wars after this time. One very long and important war was called the 30 Years' War. It happened between the years 1618 and 1648. This war was very hard for many countries, but Switzerland stayed out of this war. It did not let the armies from the fighting countries come through its land. When the 30 Years' War ended in 1648, the countries made a big peace agreement. It was called the Peace of Westphalia. In these peace papers, the countries of Europe agreed that Switzerland was a free country. They said Switzerland was independent. Because Switzerland had stayed out of the long war, other countries also started to see it as a neutral place. They understood that Switzerland did not want to fight in their wars. So in 1648, Switzerland was seen by other countries as independent and mostly neutral. This was an important time for Switzerland's future. 3. Making neutrality official. France came into Switzerland in 1798. French armies marched into the country. This was a difficult time for Switzerland. For a period, Switzerland was not neutral anymore. It became a country under French influence called the Helvetic Republic. This period lasted for some years. Switzerland was not truly free during this time. Later, the famous French leader Napoleon Bonaparte was defeated. The big countries in Europe like England, Russia, and Austria had important meetings. They wanted to bring peace and order back to Europe after many wars. In 1814, they signed a treaty in Paris. In this treaty, they talked about Switzerland. They agreed that Switzerland should be independent again. It should be free from French control. Then, in March 1815, these big countries met in a large city called Vienna. This meeting was very important for all of Europe. At the Congress of Vienna, these countries made a big and historic decision about Switzerland. They officially declared that Switzerland must always be neutral. This was called perpetual neutrality. They also guaranteed Switzerland's independence. This was a very new idea for a country. Switzerland was the first nation in the world to have this status made official by other major powers. Historians say that because neutrality was so official, it created a psychological obstacle for other countries. It made them less likely to invade Switzerland compared to other countries that were neutral but not officially guaranteed. This official neutrality helped Switzerland stay out of the large wars that happened around it. However, Switzerland still had some challenges inside its own country. In 1847, there was a short internal war called the Sonderbund War. This war was between different groups of Swiss people and regions. This showed that being neutral applied to wars with other countries, not to problems within Switzerland itself. After this internal war ended, Switzerland made a new government structure in 1848. They wrote a new, important law book called the Federal Constitution. This new government and the Constitution were designed to make Switzerland stronger and more united. The idea of being neutral was a key part of this new system. Neutrality was seen as a way for the different parts of Switzerland, with different languages and beliefs, to live together in peace without having to choose sides in arguments or wars involving their neighbors outside Switzerland. So in 1815, neutrality became official internationally, agreed by the major European powers. And in 1848, the Swiss government wrote neutrality into the foundation of the modern Swiss state. Switzerland would defend itself if attacked, but it promised not to fight in other countries' wars. This became the official rule for Switzerland in the world. For neutrality in modern wars. Switzerland kept its neutral status during the First World War, which lasted from 1914 to 1918. The country did not send soldiers to fight in the battles happening in other parts of Europe. However, Switzerland did prepare its army. Soldiers were ready to protect the country's borders. This showed that neutrality meant being ready to defend itself, even if it did not join the war. The country successfully stayed neutral during this big conflict. The Second World War, 1939–1945, was an even bigger challenge for neutrality. Switzerland was located right in the middle of Europe, surrounded by countries that were fighting intensely. It was very hard for Switzerland to stay out of the conflict and remain neutral. The country was almost completely surrounded by countries involved in the war. But Switzerland managed to keep its neutral position and was not invaded. This period showed how difficult neutrality can be when there is a big war happening all around, and the importance of having an army ready to deter any attack. After the Second World War came a long period known as the Cold War. During this time, there was tension between two main groups of countries in the world. Switzerland remained neutral and did not take sides in this global competition. Because of its neutral position, Switzerland could often help different countries talk to each other. Important meetings sometimes happened in Switzerland, offering a safe place for discussions between countries from different sides of the Cold War divide. In more recent times, after the Cold War ended, the world changed. Switzerland began to think more about what neutrality means in today's world. The problems in the world are different now, with new types of conflicts and global challenges. Neutrality is still the main rule for Switzerland, meaning it does not fight in wars involving other countries. But neutrality today is not always simple. It can be flexible in some ways. Switzerland still cannot let foreign armies cross its land or let countries fighting a war use its sky. This follows the old rules of neutrality. However, Switzerland can work with international groups like the United Nations or the European Union. Sometimes, these groups decide to put economic pressure on a country that is acting against international rules. This is done by stopping trade or business with that country. These actions are called sanctions. Switzerland can choose to join in with these sanctions. For example, if the United Nations Security Council asks countries to stop trade with a country that started a war, Switzerland can agree to do that. It has also joined sanctions decided by the European Union in some cases, for example, against Russia in 2022 after it attacked Ukraine. Taking part in sanctions is not seen as breaking neutrality because it is not military action. It is a way to show support for international law and peace efforts without fighting. So neutrality has adapted. It still means no fighting, but it allows Switzerland to work with other countries on global problems and take non-military actions like sanctions. Some people in Switzerland say this means being an active neutral, meaning the country is neutral but still works actively for peace and follows important international laws. There are still discussions about how best to do this today. 5. Rules for staying neutral. Switzerland has rules about being neutral. These rules are in Swiss law. They are also part of international law that countries around the world follow. These rules help Switzerland stay out of wars. One main rule is that Switzerland cannot join a war. It must not fight with one country against another. Switzerland cannot send its soldiers to help other countries fight. It cannot be part of military groups that fight together in wars. This is a very important part of being neutral. Another rule is about Switzerland's land. Countries that are fighting a war cannot use Switzerland. They cannot fight battles in Switzerland. Their armies or planes cannot travel through Switzerland to get to a fight. Switzerland must keep its land free from other countries' wars, but Switzerland can have its own army. This is allowed. The army is not for fighting in other countries' wars. The Swiss army is only for protecting Switzerland itself. It helps keep the country safe. Being neutral means Switzerland can defend its own home. When there is a war, Switzerland must treat all the countries in the war in the same way. It must be fair to everyone. It cannot help one side more than the other side. For example, if Switzerland sells things, it cannot sell weapons to only one country fighting the war. It must treat them equally. This rule is called impartiality. Swiss people also have rules because of neutrality. A Swiss person cannot go and fight as a soldier for another country. This is not allowed because Switzerland is neutral. Today, the rules for neutrality can sometimes be used in new ways. For example, the United Nations, or UN, sometimes tells countries to stop trade or do other actions against a country that broke international law. Switzerland can follow these UN actions. This does not break Switzerland's neutrality. The UN rules are different from joining a war. Switzerland can also sometimes follow actions from the European Union, or EU. If the EU decides to stop trade with a country, Switzerland might do the same. This is allowed if Switzerland applies the rule equally and it fits with their neutrality law. These examples show that being neutral means not fighting, but Switzerland can still take actions to help keep peace and follow international laws. It is about staying out of wars but still being fair and responsible in the world. 6. The army and keeping peace. Switzerland keeps peace by having a strong army ready to defend itself. This army is not like armies in many other countries. Most men in Switzerland must be soldiers for a short time. This is the law, and it creates a militia army. These citizen soldiers train regularly and keep their guns and equipment at home. This system means Switzerland can quickly call up a large defense force if there is a threat. The army's only purpose is to protect Switzerland's borders and land from attack. It will never attack another country or join foreign wars. In times of big wars in Europe, like the two world wars, Switzerland called up many soldiers to guard its borders. For example, in World War II, about 220,000 soldiers were ready to protect the mountains and borders. This strong defense showed other countries that invading Switzerland would be difficult and risky. This idea of being neutral but having a strong defense is called armed neutrality. It is a way for Switzerland to stay out of wars by being ready to defend its peace at home. Switzerland's neutrality has also helped it have a long period of peace, which was very good for its economy. Unlike countries that were fighting, Switzerland's cities, farms, and businesses were not bombed or destroyed during wars. This meant Swiss companies could work continuously and focus on making things and trading with others around the world. They became very good at making high-quality products like watches, precision machines, and medicines. Trading was easier because Switzerland did not take sides in conflicts. Swiss banks also became very important around the world. People and governments saw Switzerland as a safe and stable place to keep their money, especially when other countries were having problems or wars. This trust made Swiss banks major centers for international finance. The Swiss currency, the franc, also became known as a very safe currency. This long period of peace and economic growth helped Switzerland become one of the richest countries in the world. Many big international companies chose to open important offices or headquarters in Switzerland. But staying neutral and keeping peace was not always simple or easy for Switzerland. There were difficult times and hard questions, especially during World War II. Even though Switzerland did not fight, it was surrounded by countries at war. It had to trade with countries on both sides, including Nazi Germany, to get necessary goods like food and coal. This trade later raised questions about whether it was right to trade with countries doing terrible things. Swiss banks faced criticism too. After the war, it was said that some banks accepted money or gold that was stolen from people who were victims of the war and the Holocaust. A very difficult part of this history is about refugees. Many people, including Jewish people, wanted to escape the war and terrible danger to come to Switzerland for safety. But Switzerland closed its borders for many of them, saying it had to protect its neutrality and itself. This decision caused great sadness and later regret. An official report years later said that closing the border made things much worse for many people seeking safety. These past events show that being neutral can sometimes bring hard moral problems. It makes people think about the balance between staying out of war and doing more to help those in great need around the world. These difficult parts of history are still discussed today and show the complex side of neutrality. 7. Switzerland helps the world. Because Switzerland is neutral, it can do special things to help other countries. It does not take sides in fights, so countries often trust it. Many important groups that help the world are in Switzerland. The European headquarters of the United Nations is in Geneva. Other big groups like the World Health Organization, which helps with health problems, are also there. This makes Switzerland a place where leaders and helpers from all over the world come to talk and work together. Switzerland is known for helping countries talk, even when they are angry or fighting. This is called offering good offices. Switzerland offers a safe place for meetings. For example, peace talks about Syria or Iran have happened in Switzerland. All sides can meet there because they know Switzerland will be fair. A very famous organization that started in Switzerland is the International Committee of the Red Cross. A Swiss man named Henry Dunant started it a long time ago, in 1863. The Red Cross helps people who are hurt or captured in wars. It is a big example of how Switzerland has a history of helping people in need, even when it stays out of wars. Sometimes, when two countries stop speaking to each other, Switzerland helps by speaking for one country in the other. For example, Switzerland has spoken for the United States in Iran for many years because the two countries do not have their own offices there. It also speaks for Cuba in the United States. This is a way Switzerland uses its neutral position to keep some communication open between countries that are not friends. Switzerland also helps with peace in other ways. It sends people to help watch for peace in different places in the world, like in Eastern Europe or Africa, as part of United Nations groups. It also hosts meetings about important topics like how to control weapons. So, even though Switzerland does not fight in wars, it is not just quiet. It uses its neutrality in an active way to help make the world more peaceful and to help people who are in trouble. It tries to be a place where problems can be talked about and solved. 8. Neutrality today and tomorrow. Today, neutrality is still important for Switzerland, but it faces new questions in the world. The war in Ukraine was a big test. Switzerland had to think hard. Many countries asked Switzerland to join them against Russia. Switzerland decided to put sanctions on Russia. This means stopping trade and money deals. This was new for Switzerland. Some people said this action was not neutral. But the Swiss government said it was right because Russia broke international law. Inside Switzerland, people have different ideas. Most people still want Switzerland to be neutral. Surveys show this. But some people think the idea of neutrality should change a little. They think Switzerland should do more to help peace and follow international laws. This is sometimes called active neutrality. Switzerland tries to find a balance. It wants to stay neutral and not fight in wars, but it also wants to help the world and follow the rules that countries agree on. Sometimes it is hard to do both. Important people like Prime Minister Alain Berset and former Foreign Minister Micheline Camire have talked about this. They say Switzerland must stay neutral, but they also say Switzerland must stand for international law. They think neutrality means being on the side of law, not just staying quiet. So, neutrality for Switzerland today is about being independent. It is also about helping others and working for peace. It is a policy that is still changing as the world changes. The future of neutrality will depend on how Switzerland answers these new questions. What do you think neutrality means for a country today?
Hey there! Just a second before you go. If you learned something new today, please give this video a like, write your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel. It only takes a second, and it really, really helps to create even better English videos for you. Your support means the world. Thank you.